Greetings and welcome to room 303. This is the day 1 introduction for 2013-14. We are working now with a collection of papers called the day 1 packet. It makes sense that you would have in your hand as well some kind of ink pen. As we work through each one of the numbers on this packet, you will want to draw a little line through that number just to make sure that you got it done. Already, number 1, you've picked up some information from the back of the room that you can mark off number 1. Hurrah! Number 2, we'll move to number 2 and ask you that you look at your packet and that you tear off the very last page, which says number 10. Do you see page 10? You go ahead and tear that off. That you don't need for some time. Those, however, go ahead and put your name on that sheet of paper real quickly at the top in blue or black ink. Make sure you are working in blue or black ink. Not pencil, not red ink. If you only have pencil, obviously use it. If you only have red ink, obviously use it. But we would prefer that you're working blue or black ink for reasons that will only become apparent later. For example, we will score with red ink. Does that make sense? So it helps us that you not write in red ink. But if all you've got's pencil or red ink, feel free. We will not cast aspersion towards you. Your name, first and last. That is your checkoff for the very first grade you will receive in our class. Okay? Notice that is the grade that we call the master schedule grade, and it happens on, do you see it? August the what? What date is it?
Friday.
Friday, August 30. Now, if you open your day planner real quickly and check to make sure I got that date right, August 30 should be what date?
Friday.
It should be Friday, huh? So, you're right. That's a fine point. We're not talking tomorrow, Friday. We're talking a week from tomorrow, Friday. I got to get some stuff done. Now, this is a bit of a relief already. You're telling me I ain't got nothing in terms of a major deadline score for a week. That's what I'm telling you. So that's good news for us. But what exactly is it that I have to have done? It's all listed for you there, but are you ready for this? I don't want to talk about that right now because I got time to talk about that later. Does that make sense? So go ahead and just take that sheet of paper and set it inside of the folder that is what we will call the Omega file. Okay, so just set it inside there. You will leave that sheet of paper in that folder. Got me? Hurrah, you can mark off number 2. Let's move on to number 3. You can tear off page 9. That's the next page from the back. Put your name on that sheet of paper. And that's an important one. Especially for seniors, that's an important one because that's how many days remain until your emancipation or your slavery, depending on how you perceive graduation from high school. For some of us, we see it as, of course, dreadful that we have to actually leave home and have to go out and make our way. Some of us will say, I've been a senior since I was in 7th grade, and I've been waiting for this year to come a long time ago. You see, I'm ready to get out of here. Or maybe I would say it this way, so I think. By November, we'll be talking about just how ready you think you are then. And some of you will report, I'm really glad that I had a senior year before I had to go off to that thing called college and all that wretchedness, you see. You might want to take a look at a couple of the dates real quickly, and I've listed them for you at 3A. Notice you don't have any school on September 2, 16, October 18, 25, and that, of course, for us is a hurrah. But what that often means for us, of course, is that those weeks are shortened. 3B, the end of the first 9 weeks, is October 1, 7, and, of course, the parent-teacher conversations happen October 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay? Let's go. Hurrah! We can mark up number 3. See, we are moving rather hastily. We now go to 4. We tear off page 8, and we're now ready to start talking about the creation of our Omega record sheet. Go ahead and put your name first and last at the top of the Omega record sheet. Then get that folder out, and we are ready to talk very quickly, may I use yours, Mr. Garson? Rather quickly about what happens with that sheet. I'll take that stapler if you want. And I need all eyes on me as you watch what I am about to do. Okay? Notice at 4 it says tear off and staple your Omega record sheet. However, I don't want you to do this yet. I want you to look at me. Watch what I'm going to do. I'll do Mr. Garza's, at least start it for him. Notice the Omega file for you, this little folder. It has a tab and then it opens. Do you see that? Here in a second we're going to write some information on that tab. But before we do that, I want you to observe how I want this to look. Okay? You're going to have an Omega file that will open like so. You're going to take the Omega record sheet and you're going to place it, okay, on the inside of your Omega file. Now, I'm going to recommend that if you've got a tab, the tab should always be what opens up so you see it. And then you're going to put this Omega record sheet on the opposite side, okay? All right, so it's going to look like that. I'll hold it up for a second so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? All right. So when you open up your Omega file, you get it out of the drawer, and you open it up. You're always going to open it up with your tab on the right-hand side, and then you're going to have that little paper there on the left-hand side. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to secure this paper into our Omega file with 4 staples. However, listen carefully. I want you to make sure that you staple your Omega file with the rough part of the staple being to the inside of the Omega file. By that, I mean the following. Do you see how the rough part of the staple is on the inside of the Omega and not on the outside? On the outside, it's kind of smooth. Here's why. This folder is going to go in a drawer called the Omega drawer. And you're going to reach your hand inside and you're going to pull out your folder. If you have lots and lots of these rough staples on the outside of the Omega file, it can get underneath the fingernail, and all of a sudden you feel like you're some kind of prisoner of war from an earlier time or something, you see. We do not want that, so please make sure that you're stapling. It's going to be a reverse, isn't it, with the stapler, to be able to derive your all 4 go there. Try and be neat about this. This paper is going to stay in your Omega file for the duration of our semester, okay? I should have staples at all tables, at least 1. Where are our staples right now? So just kind of start moving those around. The other thing at number 5, we've already done number 5. Look at it real quickly. We're multitasking now, aren't we? At number 5, do you see it? You can mark off number 4 if you've done it. If you've done it. By the way, let me say this real quickly to you. If everyone will just pause for 1 moment so that I can say this, just pause what you're doing and listen, because I want to make sure you understand this. That folder you're stapling that paper into, we call the Omega file. That folder always stays in this room, room 303. It never leaves. That folder is the way you hand materials into me. It's the way I hand materials back to you. You will never, ever give me a blank sheet of paper and say, dude, I did some homework here. Whoa, way wrong answer. I lose stuff, you lose stuff. Everything goes in a folder. A folder never leaves the room. Make sense? In the morning or afternoon, when you come into 303, the first thing you do is to come to the Omega drawer. Everyone look back here. I mean, you can look at Anderson. Look past Anderson. I mean, everyone wants to look at Anderson. But look past Anderson. And here's the Omega drawer, second from the top. And what you'll do is you will find the little tab that says your class period. In your case, it's 2. And you will derive your Omega file from that drawer. Then you go and sit down anywhere you want. I don't care. I do ask that we only have at our tables 4 to a table. Today, obviously, is okay. But we have too much. We have space issues. So get here. If you want to sit at a table with your pal or whatever, get here on time. There's no assigned seating. You can sit wherever you want. Your Omega file is with you. When the bell rings, I simply go to the drawer and check the Omegas. If your Omega is in that drawer, that means you're not here. Does that make sense? That's how I take roll. Got me? So it's really fast for me. The second thing that's nice is, like today, I handed out some stuff at the beginning of the hour. If I hand out anything, bless you, if I hand out anything, I always make sure that it gets put inside of your Omega file. So when you show up the next time, any of papers that we were handing out, they're in your folder. Does that make sense? So the Omega file allows for you to hand stuff into me. If you'll look around back behind Anderson again, and Mr. Anderson, if you don't mind standing up to show them where the gray bin is, we have the Omega drawer, but what Mr. Anderson is, boy, he looks like one of those ladies on the shows. Price is Right. You see how they do that, right? That's what we call the gray bin. And any time you're actually handing in work to me, you'll always put it in that little thingy. I look at your work, I leave it in your Omega file, I then put your Omega file back in the drawer. So does that make sense? Then in the mornings or whatever, when you come in, you check your Omega file and their stuff is graded. Make sense? If you hand something in to me and then you come in and look in the drawer and your Omega file isn't there, you know that I'm still working on it. Make sense? Okay? All right. If you finished with number 4, you can mark it off. At number 5, some of you have already done this. You've got your book that's been given to you. Go ahead and put your name and my name inside of that book. Okay? Your name and my name inside of that book. And the reason why we do that is that if your book happens to get lost, you're going to pay a finder's fee of close to 200 bones now. Those books are really expensive. And sometimes they'll return the book to me. They don't know you, but they know me. So put both your name and my name somewhere in that little grid there or whatever. All right? All right, let's go back to number 6 now. This is an important one. Number 6. With ink, not pencil. And this is huge. I don't want this in pencil because I don't want it going away. In ink, on your Omega file, on that little tab on the inside so that we can see it. Not on the outside of the tab, on the inside, next to how the folder opens. 6A, I need your first and last name and the class period that you're working in. 6A. 6B, on the inside of the Omega file somewhere, please put there your address and a contact phone number for me. That way, if I run into issues and I need to contact you really quickly or send you something, I've got the ability to do that. Does that make sense? That's on the inside. Don't put your phone number on the outside. Put it on the inside, okay? I don't want people seeing your intel. 6C, you've already put your class period on that tab. That is big. Make sure it's clean. By the way, put your first and last name cleanly on the Omega file. So I can read it, other people can read it. Don't put your signature there. You can put your signature other places on the Omega, but not there. 6D, on the outside, you're going to put the title of your book, what we will simply call the textbook. Important. Make sure it says Volume 1. Because in our class, we actually have 2 volumes of that book. You will remember in years past that heavy, large anthology. Textbook companies finally grew a brain and decided to split those books into 2, right? So that you don't have to carry as much weight. So you've got the volume that we'll use for first semester. Then in January, we'll give you Volume 2. Makes sense? So, yeah, that's right. That's the reason that textbook number has a letter A there. Go ahead and write down that number on your Omega file. I've already collected at 6D your numbers. I did that a few minutes ago. So you can go ahead after you're finished and mark through 6. Number 7, I've already done as well. Hurrah, you can mark that one off. Number 8, it's now, I'm at number 8 working with you. It's now that I recommend that you have out your day planner. Your day planner, okay? The first thing I want to suggest to you on that day planner, and I'm right there with you in large capital letters on the day 1 sheet. Do you see it there before number 7? I highly recommend that in ink, you write your name on the front of your day planner. Dude, I've got a stamp that has my name on it. Right. A stamp that can be easily removed once some freshman or whatever loses his or her day planner and has to, replace with a $7 or $10 fee. So always, I would recommend always having a couple of different places in ink your name there. Okay? That way, first and last name, that way you've got it. I'm going to recommend that in this class you have a couple of people who you will call your study buddy. That is to say, someone who can help you if you miss class to know what it is that you missed. Because, hello, can I say this without insult? The last thing you want to do on a Tuesday if you missed on a Monday, the last thing you want to do is to walk up to the loony and say, what did I miss yesterday? Way wrong answer. Way wrong answer. First of all, if you miss on a Monday, you and I should have been having conversations the week before that you were going to be gone so that you would know what you missed. Got me? But some of us wake up on a Monday and we just feel like garbage and so we don't come to class, correct? But if you show up on a Tuesday, the last thing you want to do is to come up to me and say, what did I miss yesterday? How am I going to tell you in a half a minute what went down for a full 45, 50-minute class. You got me? I mean, come on, it's impossible. You got me? So if you're absent, the first thing you're always doing is calling your study buddy and saying, what did we miss, what did we do? That way you're always making sure you're not falling behind, okay? So I would recommend right now you exchange numbers with your pals. You can take your phones out to do this if you want, just so you know people. Now, most of you already got this, but at least make eye contact with a couple of people that say, are you cool with me and my study buddy? Now, here's the problem. I had a student who's on the bus, headed down to play a ball game in Rollins. Needed to kind of get some intel about study buddy stuff because the day before something else had happened and been absent. Called the student sitting next to her answered her phone. Oh yeah. The problem is that her study buddies were all on the same activities with her and therefore on the same trip with her, not going to get the information necessary. So you might want to pick people who you know are kind of outside of your circle who maybe can help you because you're not all on the same trips and the like. You see what I'm saying? So that way you can do that. All right, let's keep going. There are a few rules. These are simple rules. Let's go through them quickly. I'm at 8A. We have very few rules. First of all, these are new tables, and we will begin to dismember body parts if any ink gets onto the top of those tables. So you want to make sure, if you need to doodle, that's why you have an Omega file. Or you can always do other paper. Or you can always borrow a person sitting next to you, maybe their arm or something. I was joking, McElhaney. What I would say, though, is don't write on our tabletops. We show tremendous respect to Ruthie and the rest of the gang who takes such great care of this building. By the way, can I say this out loud? If you have not walked up to Ruthie and the rest of those guys and looked them in the eye and said, I mean this, thank you for taking such care of this facility. Because if you didn't notice it, you have to notice it if you're seniors, because you've been here now. This is an amazing place to come every day. It's so clean. And some of your colleagues worked all summer to help make this look this way. And so we want to take good care of it. That's why if you have a drink in here, you always have a cap on it and some of those things. We take good care of our facility. Let's make sure that we don't write on our tables. Of course, we've got drinks kept. We do ask that your phones and your iPods are put away until allowed to be taken out. We'll have more to say about that later. Your green pass into the halls allows you to be able to allows people in the halls to know that you are legitimately absent from the room. We have them sitting at the back of the room. Oz, why don't you just show where those are real quickly? The green pads at the back of the room, over Ozzy's shoulder over there, okay, on my table. It's all, you fill it out, you bring it to me, I sign it. Simple. Okay? All right, A is done. You can mark it off. Hurrah. All right, let's go to B. Now, B is the course outline, and now let's take a look at it. You should have in front of you now an outline at the top that says Senior A, Orange, Units 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is a document that you picked up from the back of the room. Look at it now with me. Senior A, Orange, Units 1, 2, 3, course outline. And then do you see where it says period 2 there? Does everyone see that? Mm-hmm. Period 2 there. Now this is what we call our course outline. Now hello. I'm speaking to two groups of us in here. One, those of us who have studied with me before and have done this ride on the choo-choo train. Two, those of us that have never been on the bus to Arkansas, and so we got no clue what's going on. That second group, we've got to really listen and pay attention. Really listen, okay? Because the information I'm about to give will help you to be very successful in class, okay? Let's begin by just making sure we understand. Let's put our name at the top of our course outline. Now, our course outline's name is important because it is our class that we're in. This is a big dog deal. Notice that for you guys, we've called second period Senior A Orange. The reason for that is that Senior A Black is a course that I teach next hour. So I want you to make sure that you do not confuse these two course outlines, okay? They're a little bit different. Same information presented in a different order. So I don't have to do the same thing back to back. You got me? Because I wouldn't want to do anything repetitive because it will become boring for the next group. So I'll be teaching you some Senior English A in this class. Third hour we'll get the same information in a different order. The course outline will show that. Now what is a course outline? If you are going to go to college, and most of you will at some point in your life, When you take a college class, the very first thing you'll get will be what's called a course outline or course syllabus. What that does is it lists all of the work for the entire semester by date, and it tells you what you're responsible for. So for example, we will look at this course outline, but right away there's a mistake, and I was waiting for Anderson to point it out, and he didn't, so I'll point it out for him. If you'll take a look, you'll notice that the day is not actually August 19th, nor is tomorrow August 20th. Uh-oh, Mr. McGee, I thought I was wrong once, but I made a mistake. You can think about that. I thought I was wrong once, but I made a mistake. Okay, so you want to make sure right now that you draw a line through 19 and put 22 there, and you draw a line through 20 and put 23 there. And I apologize for the error. I will tell you there will be other errors as well, so please forgive. Your instructor is mortal, and if you listen to my wife, an idiot. I'm sure she's right. Yeah, I'm sure she's right. So for example, if I were to ask you, what exactly is it that we're doing on, I don't know, let's just pick a random date, August 30th. Like, I need to know what's happening August 30th. How do I know that information? Well, notice I look. August 30th is in week 2. Do you see it with me? And there it is, August 30th. You have ANN, which is short for annotations. That means that's some reading that you have to do. Out of your book, pages 44 to 48. 49 to 51, and you also have a deadline that's due on that day that's listed there called the master schedule deadline. We'll get to more conversation about that later. Got me? Now I need you to listen very carefully to me. Quick observation. Any time in class together that I start talking, and I have a tendency to talk rather quickly, if I say something that just went right over your head, and you need to hear it again, instead of asking your pal next to you, what did he just say? Or what did he... Because that might just, disrupt your pal. We have code language in room 303 that works something like this. If I say something that you didn't hear, you didn't understand, all you do is this right here. Watch. That's all you do. That right there. Now, if McElhaney does that, I'm not going to go, dude, what's wrong with you? Do you have a question? No, no, no. I won't even recognize that he did it by name. But I will see that he's done it. That right there is code language for me. Dude, you're going way, way too fast and I ain't on the choo-choo train yet. Slow down. Go back over and say it again. So I will. Right? You got me? So if you do this, that's code language. You're going a little too quick for me. I need help. I need you to slow down just a little bit. So through this presentation, okay, if I start saying something a little too quick, you're going, whoa, 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 where page are we on? Where is he? Just do one of these. Got me? And then I'll just kind of back up. I'm not going to call attention to you. I'll just kind of back up and I'll say, this is kind of where I am, this is what we're doing. So right now I'm on this course outline page 1. If you'll take a look at this thing, you will see that all of the stuff that we will do for the semester is listed right here. All the exams are there. All the pages that we got to do are there. All the papers that we got to write are there. Everything is there for you. Do you got me? Now, there's important information regarding this course outline. And we'll come back to it. But the important thing is right now you make sure your name is at the top of that thing on the first page. And you're going to take that thing home with you. You do not want to leave that in your Omega file. Okay, that's going to go in your notebook that you're going to create that you maybe don't have yet. Got me? Questions about the course outline for now. So for example, what are we doing tomorrow? See, this is beautiful for you. Now, I don't like surprises like that. I love surprises. I mean, I like Christmas like everybody. But there's some surprises I just do not like. Like, I show up and I don't know what's going on. I don't like that because it makes me feel dumb. I don't like feeling dumb. I like to feel smart. I like to feel like I know what I'm doing. The course outline allows you to do that. Anytime you walk in 303, you should already know what we're going to do for the day. Always. You will always know what we're doing. It's never going to be a shock for you. And the way you're going to know is, you're going to look at the course outline. Does that make sense? So that course outline will help you immensely going forward. All right? Now what I'd like you to do real quickly is to look at my whiteboard up here. I'll go ahead and pause and say this right now. For those of you who have done this right before, this is review. For those of you that are new, this is big dog deal important. Okay? You want to write this down in your day planner, I recommend. I have a website called LearnStrong, all one word, .net. It's not a .com site, it's a .net site. That's important first that you write it down appropriately. Okay? This is a site that is sponsored by a local communications company, RT Communications, who for the many years has supported the work that I've done for a long time now in North 303. And an old student of mine, Mr. Vitals, who is my maintainer of that site and does an outstanding job for me. Now, what happens on that site? Tonight, I want you to hit that site. By the way, if you have a handheld, you can take it out real quickly and you can go ahead and hit that site. You can see it. It's fine if you want to do that. Just so that you can see what I'm talking about. And it kind of helps you to actually be looking at it as I talk. On that site, there's a home page. Down the left-hand side of that home page, there's a listing of any number of options in the form of folders. I've listed the ones that I think you probably want to pay attention to tonight. The first folder will be your class folder that will say Senior A Orange, right? And if you hit that, guess what you will see? You will see the course outline you just looked at. You'll actually see it there. Make sense? Okay? That will allow you to always have a digital format of that course outline. Let's say, for example, you forget or whatever and you're stuck somewhere. You don't know exactly where you're going or whatever. What do I have due tomorrow? I don't have my papers with me. You can always hit this site, take a look at it. The second thing, number 2, I recommend that you go to what's called Week 1. Week 1. Now, there's 2 Week 1s because last year's, 2012, 2013, has been archived. So you want to hit 13, 14. Now, if you hit 13, 14 right now, I think that there's not much in there. If you hit 12, 13, the archive of last year, you will see a number of introductory videos. You want to, by the end of the day, Mr. Viles is to be moving some files for me. By the end of the day, the videos that I recommend for you to watch will be in the 2013-14 folder. The reason why I recommend this is, if you're new to this ride especially, I will have very brief videos that are uploaded to YouTube that will allow you to be able to see the information. I'll tell you what annotation is. I'll tell you what master scheduling is. I'll tell you what writing, how we do writing in here. If you've got any confusion about what we're doing, it will be there. Got me? For example, the information I'm presenting to you right now is being videotaped for this very reason. Let's say that I was going over this a little too quick and you didn't want to even raise your hand because you just didn't want to show anybody you didn't know. You go back to the video, you watch it. By the end of this evening, this very presentation will be uploaded to LearnStrong, which will allow for you to take a look. Of course, for our ball players, this is huge, isn't it? Because if you're on the road as a forensics person or whatever, and you miss a day, you can actually watch the information on your handheld while you're gone. So I actually have students who have the capacity, because they have the data plan, that allows for them on the bus, on the way home, to watch the information that they missed. Got me? Especially if you're on a 2-day trip. So that allows for you to not fall behind, which will be one of the important parts of our class together, right? We're not going to fall behind. All right, I'm back now to the day 1 packet. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a couple of other things I'll just mention. Later on, you're going to be interested in picking up plus points. I don't call it extra credit. I call it plus points on our test sheet. And there's a folder there on the left-hand side that says test sheet plus points. And you'll begin to want to look at that, and I help you with that. And then finally, this day 1 introduction that I'm actually giving to you now. If you need it again, it will be posted for sure by tomorrow. Help you out. All right, let's go back to our day 1 packet again. And we are at 8, and we're working through this now at 8C. Go ahead and tear off the last page of the packet. I believe that's page 7, isn't it? Go ahead and put your name at the top of it. This is what we call our test sheet. Every time we have an exam in here, we will have a series of days that have been covered. Our test sheet, and you should be looking at it now, and it says test sheet. This should be checked to make sure. At the bottom, this should say page 7. At the bottom, this should say page 7. Did I say that right? Right? Okay, so page 7 at the bottom, all right? And then you will have the information, okay? Now, some of you tore off the last page of your course outline. That's a student survey. We'll get to that in a little bit, okay? Not a worry that you tore it off, because you're going to need to tear it off anyway. But we're now looking at page 7 of the day 1 packet. That's what we call our test sheet. We will say much more about this, but for the time being, let's just call it this. This is the records that we keep to get ready for the exam. I try to help you get a higher grade. One of the ways I do that is by giving you plus points for the exam. So in other words, on your test sheet, I get you plus points. You take, let's say, the Scantron test and you write a 65. Not so hot. You get a 65, but you got 10 points on your plus points on your test sheet. Now all of a sudden you got a 75. See how that works? So we use the test sheet as a way to help ourselves get higher grades. Make sense? The test sheet will remain in your Omega file. You can put it there now. Go ahead. All right, 8D. Go ahead and tear that page off. Page 6 from the Day 1 packet. 8D. Now, I'm not going to say a lot about this page because you can read. But I will point out just a few things on what is it, page what? 6. Go ahead and tear page 6 off. Okay? And page 6 for you is the page of rules. Now, we don't have a lot of rules other than the ones that I already mentioned, but these are kind of more academic in nature. I want you to put a star at number 1. And by the way, put your name at the top of this sheet of paper. Go ahead and put your name at the top of this sheet of paper. And I want you to put a star, and if you brought in more than a different color ink, I recommend that you use red and put a star right next to this at number 1. These are your supplies. By Friday, August 30th, you want to make sure you have all these supplies purchased. Make sense? Okay. And I think these are fairly self-explanatory. Part of that I'd like for you to notice are the 3-ring notebook and divider system. Notice, put a little star next to that or underline it, the divider system. I want those dividers divided up, okay? Master schedule, annotations, vocabulary study, grammar study, writing assessments, okay? And those are the areas of our class that we'll study, okay? The rest of this stuff is fairly self-explanatory. I think it makes sense to you, okay? I say here a small memory stick of some kind of device that allows for you to store materials. Sometimes, for example, we'll type on our mobile lab, then you'll be able to save your stuff and go home with it and the like. Does that make sense? So I recommend it. A small backpack is a requirement. Put a circle around that one, and here's why. We don't want all of our papers on top of our desktop, especially because we're a large class. So we want to have a backpack where we keep all of our stuff, and you want to make sure you show up with all of your supplies, okay? Class rules are very simple. Number 2, grading number 3, makeup work number 4. By the way, at number 4, just write learnstrong.net there at number 4. One more reminder that if you miss class, that's where you always want to go. Number 5, the declaration of our state standards. And number 6, of course, the notion of attendance and responsibilities. We don't want to be tardy to class because I start as soon as the bell rings. And trust me, you don't want to miss what we're working with top of the hour. So always try and get here as quickly as possible. If you are late, let me know pretty quickly, what's up, and we'll try and work with it. I need you to sign this after you've read it. Don't do it now. Wait till you read it. I need someone who's your significant other parent to sign it, and we'll ask that that gets done by Friday, August 30th. So put a note to yourself here, Friday, August 30th. We want to have this document signed by both you and parent. So this one will not go in your Omega file. I'm back to the Day 1 packet. Hurrah, you can mark off 8D. We just did that. 8E. Let's talk about real quickly the deadlines that are coming. 8D. How will we know what's coming? Look at the piece of paper you put in your Omega file that was, I believe, page 10. Look at your look at your course outline. Have both of those sitting side by side. Okay? And if you're looking at those, you will see some similarities at August 30th, won't you? The deadline of August 30th is basically proof you have joined our class officially. Okay? We're kind of in initiation phase until August 30. After August 30, all of the major introductory stuff is done. Okay? It's all listed for you on page 10. It will not surprise you then to see on page 10 that checkoff list. Notice the first thing there that you got to make sure you bring with you are some supplies. Do you see it all there with you? Then you've got to have your master schedule deadline. Now let's look at that for a second. That's the second part of page 10. Notice part 1. You're going to list all of the deadlines that are listed on the course outline in your day planner. So you just simply write them into your day planner. Make sense? So if they're on the course outline, you're going to write them into the day planner. Simple. For the entire semester. Make sense? Part 2. You're going to type. By the way, draw a line through handwritten. We'll type it. And you'll want it typed because then you can manipulate it later. If you handwrite it, it's a pain. So type up a list for yourself of the work of the semester. Now, this list will be dependent on the work of our class. And what you've got to do is look at the course outline and ask, is there any grammar and vocabulary study that's listed on the course outline? I will tell you in advance for you guys, there's not, so you can draw a line through that one. There's not, so you can draw a line through that one. The reading annotation work, for sure, we will have some of that. And so what you'll do is you'll list the days and the days that they're due in the pages. Writing assessments will be our writing packets, and we'll for sure have some of those. Reading assessments would be any kind of exams that we might take that would be listed on the course outline as reading assessments. Any kind of memory work. Periodically, we may ask you to memorize something. If that's on the course outline, you want to write that down. And then finally, there will be some exams that you may have to take as well. Okay? So what I'm asking you to do in part 2 is to look closely at the course outline and answer the simple question, what really is going on in the class? What do I have to do in those different categories? And all you do is just have a heading, and then you just list all the work for the entire semester under that heading. If it takes you more than one page to type it, that's no worries. Everybody groovy with that? The other work on page 10 that's listed there for you, you've got to get your rules sheet signed. That's the one we just looked at. What was that? Page what? 6. Might want to write that down as page 6. We're going to have you type some goals for us in the 3 areas of reading, writing, and organization. And all you got to do is just bullet point 3 areas that you think you'd like to improve in the areas of reading, writing, organization. We'll have more to say about that. A student survey you're going to fill out. Look at your course outline real quickly and tear off the last page unless you've already done it. Some of you may have already done this. And go ahead and put your name at the top of it really quickly. First and last name at the top of it. Do it now with me. First and last name at the top of it. It should say senior survey, right? For whatever class you're in. If you're a junior or freshman watching this, you'll know that. Your first and last name is there. Go ahead and put there that this is due again August 30th. This is all part of the deadline packet. August 30th. Here's the thing. I want to kind of know from you a little bit of information to help me help you. So you can kind of read through that. Now, some of that information you will not get on your own. You'll have to go to Miss Malin or to Mr. or Miss Billito to try and get some of that information. I'd like you to look at the very last thing on that page, though. Do you see there where it asks a simple question? What can I do to help you? That I need you to tell me. If you have concerns, questions, you're really worried, that's the place to write it for me. Okay? If you'd like to set up a conversation time, you can mention it there. I think it makes sense maybe that, Mr. McGee, I come in and sit down with you and we go through some of this so I can know what's up. That's kind of where you would do that. And I just get back with you. See how that works? Obviously, you can meet with me before the 30th of August. And I recommend that you do, okay, before the 30th of August. All right? Questions, comments? On the Learn Strong sign sheet there, go ahead and just draw a line through that one. Back on the master schedule, page 10. You can draw a line through that one. We don't have to worry about that one. Okay? All right, I'm back to the day 1 packet, number 9. We're now ready to kind of finish up. Here's your homework for the evening. I want you to look at the rest of this day 1 packet. I'm at 9A. 9A. First of all, I want you to pay attention to the page right after this one called 1B. Do you see it? This is our no-fail policy. We will not fail you in this class. You cannot fail as long as you attend. If you are here, I absolutely guarantee you that you will pass this class. Assuming that you're here, right? That's a big assuming. And assuming that once you're here, you do some work for me. Make sense? Okay. So I have a way to make sure that you pass. Remember, 60 is passing for us at World High, yes? So if I can get your scores, all of your scores to 60, I know that you've passed. So any time in our class you write a score below 60, we're going to find a way to get that score to 60. Does that make sense? So you're never going to be deficient. You're never going to, we don't want that. We want you always passing with at least a 60. Make sense? Go ahead and read that sheet to kind of see how that will work. Also, page 2, the introduction to annotation. This is a huge, huge important reading page for you tonight. And put a note to yourself, I recommend that you watch the video at Learn Strong in week 1 about annotation. If you hit the 2013-14 and it's not there, hit the 2012-13 and it will be there. Introduction to annotation. Now, if you've studied with me before, that can be for you a review at best. If you have not studied with me before, you definitely want to do that. So that way you know what that sheet page number 2 says. I'm still at 9A, number 3, page 3. And so on, and so on. Tonight, finish that work, okay? I'll see you back tomorrow.